Hey, so if you've watched my channel for very long, you probably know that one of my, I think, like part of my agenda with this channel, my helpful agenda, since I'm not selling you anything, is to try to free people, because this is the easiest way to get happier faster, be more fulfilled faster. My big sort of agenda here has been to free people from the desires that are not real, the desires that are not from them, to sort of encourage people to critically think about themselves in relation to the thing that they are struggling to get, struggling to the point that they are seeking out manifesting videos on YouTube. Critically think through those. Ask yourself where they could be coming from and whether they're really things that you want to bring about, or whether it's something that like you want to get because your mother would approve of you then. Desires that you're chasing after with the purpose of getting the approval of others. That is something that you can change yourself in relation to, and everything about those will likely drop away, or you'll find that there is a shred of desire for one of those things, but it's not in the area that you were looking. It's not in the person that you were looking. It's somewhere else. And this, I think, can be like just the key to everything for people. It can be life-changing for people. You can be a very, I think, self-aware, considerate of others, successful, not like super depressed. Like you can be somebody who, isn't in a really bad place, but this is still like afflicting you in a major way. So I like to talk about this because it's very freeing if you can recognize one of these things. Like, it's a gift. If this is where you're coming from on things, you don't have any work you have to do in the world. None. Like, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is recognize that you're chasing after things that you don't really want. And since you're struggling to get them, you're experiencing some negativity in relation to those things, and you can just drop the whole thing and move on to what you really do want. What you actually, want to get. And you might not have any access to what those real natural desires for you are if you are mired in this sort of blinding state of focusing on something that you don't even really want because, for whatever reason, you feel like you have to have it. You feel like it's time for you to have it. Time's running out. You feel like, you don't fit into the society you live in if you don't have this thing, even though you could give a shit. You could not care less. Let me put it that way. But you feel strongly in an sort of, you're sort of stuck in an illusion that you do care and it is something that you want. If you haven't really stopped to think about this, you could go for years or decades thinking, well, I've got to get this thing, translating into I want this thing, when actually you would prefer not to have anything to do with any of it, and it's an obligation. So I wanted to talk about this again. I think this is especially helpful when you're young, although I think it's especially hard to drop a lot of the things that you're trying to do to get approval from others or society when you're young. But you know what? It can be very helpful to just be aware of it. You might say to yourself, I'm trying to get this relationship because that's what you do when you're 25. And oh shit, I'm recognizing that I don't, a big part of that is just because I feel like I have to be doing that now. I would love it if I could just do that whenever I wanted. I don't really even want that right now, but I feel I have to. You could recognize some parts of this in yourself. You could recognize that the thing that you're having a lot of stress and tension over isn't really, you're not really stressing over it because you deeply want it. It's that you just, feel like you have to get it and still not be able to really do much with that. However, as you get older, the understanding of that will help shift and change, I think, the trajectory that you're on. It'll put you on a different path if you at least understand that you're not fully on board with this desire, because as things play out in relation to this desire, you get it, maybe. You don't get it, maybe. You get it in some form that's not satisfying, maybe. Well, hey, you have this new sort of dimension to consider. On some level, how does this thing that I've created in my reality accurately reflect this aspect that I know about myself? It's a useful tool, I think, to have, because as you move forward, you're constantly reshaping your desires, and you're reshaping the direction you're heading in. Your intentions change, as you have big insights over time, as you get older. It just changes things. And it's good to have thought about this, even if you can't do anything with it. A lot of the things that you think you want aren't coming from you. They're coming from your programming. They're coming, I think when you have a desire for something that is right for you, there's a certain feeling that goes with it. There is little, if any, anxiety. Different people experience life different ways. I don't experience a lot of anxiety in general. So for me, this is like a totally anxiety-less feeling when thinking about something that I think is right. No anxiety, sort of a feeling of a very clear, sort of almost like an energetic cord. I don't know how else to describe it. Sort of an energetic feeling between you and the idea that you feel is drawing you towards it. It's just, I always want to use the word clear. When I have a feeling, when I have a, sort of a desire for something, I don't really usually phrase it that way, but when I decide I'm going to do something and it's right, I have a feeling of just, it's like there is nothing but, there's a noticeable absence in my body of any sort of negative feeling. And if there's a little bit of anxiety, that could be like excitement. But any big amount of anxiety and no, it's shelved. I have to, that needs to be critically looked at a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'd have to think about that and talk about that in a different video. But when it's right, it's like there is a feeling of, I want to say like pure, positive, very light feeling, just like energy. It just feels right. When there is something that I am turning towards, like I'm going to go in this direction. I felt that way about doing a video every day on this channel this year, which is weird. I don't even know where that came from, but I was just like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. I don't know why. I'm probably going to produce a bunch of crap. I'm probably going to listen to stuff and be like, I should have just deleted that. But I don't know. I had that feeling when I just sort of had this instant inkling to do that. And I was like, I consulted my body and I was like, whoa, no resistance there. There is nothing about that is like, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to be like, that's too much. Or there were just no bad feelings about it. Some bad feelings came later. But at the initial intention, I just knew that I was going to do it, and I knew I was supposed to do it, or I don't know about supposed to, because who's dictating that? But I did have that feeling like that I am supposed to do this. But anyway, I think this can be, if you're not, I do this shit day in, day out, and I have consciously for 5 years, and sort of in a less aware way. I did it for a long time before that too, just constantly trying to get to know myself in relation to everything. And if you're not used to doing that, or you haven't done it at all, start is my first thing to say. But it can be confusing and difficult at first to pick apart, what of this is me and what of this is not me. This thing that's occupying my thoughts and that I am seeking advice about how to get. What parts of this do I genuinely want and what parts do I not? So like if you were trying to manifest a very successful career path or financial path forward, there could be all kinds of stuff in there that isn't you. Like, it has to be this prestigious thing because my friends need to think that I am important, or my parents, my dad is very successful in this way, and I can't be less than him, or I have to, he will be he will approve of this. I will have my dad's approval. He will be proud of me if I do this. That's one of those things where that type of idea can be a source of so much stress and pain and self-loathing and all kinds of bad things. That's the kind of thing that I would personally try to work out all myself, work that out all within me, those ideas, and get past those ideas so that having this, outcome show up as having this element of prestige wasn't a requirement. I don't think most people genuinely want that. I think most people want that for a specific ego reason, which isn't to say you can't manifest that, by the way. I'm not saying that. This is more about your experience of your life and your desire, especially if you're not getting it. These elements that are ego-driven, that are, because you're still sort of like doing what others want you to do, or you're still feeling like my path forward needs to conform with society's expectations or live up to my parents' expectations. Those things are just sources of misery. And you're welcome to pursue them, of course. Everybody is. Everybody can do whatever they want, mentally, especially. But I sure as hell don't want anything to do with those. And as I've talked about on this channel many times, I've had, and really it's kind of over at this point. It's a little amazing for me to say that, but I've my whole life struggled with the idea of needing to fit in physically as a woman into society's expectations and my mother's expectations and what I believed would be, a change in the relationship with my father if only I were like a more beautiful child and woman, all that stuff. Though I would say those concepts, those ideas were the biggest source of misery in my entire life. And relieving myself of them has been glorious. So that's what I'm getting at with all of this. When you have desires for things, there are often elements, just misery-inducing elements of these desires that you can make the choice to drop. And you may get to the point where you're just like, screw this whole thing. Like 95% of this aim in life that I have is to please others, and I don't give a shit. I pray for you, every single person watching this. I pray for you that you reach that point. I think, my own experience, of course, has been, as I just said, so much related to others. And, I don't know about you, but I'm not here for others. This is my personal experience, my personal life experience. And it's taken 45 years, but yeah, I gotta tell you, I don't give much of a shit what other people think, and I don't give much of a shit about doing things for the approval of others or to impress other people, especially at this point. So yeah, if you can critically look at your desires in that way, the big aims you have in life, the things that you think are like gonna provide the meaning of life for you, you may just come to the point where you're like, screw it. I didn't realize that I don't want this. I want to please mom. And that's what this desire is for. It's for her. This is her desire for me, not my desire for myself. It's so freeing. It's so freeing. Unfulfilled desire is the source of most misery, I think. The unfulfillment of a desire, like existing in the state of lack, is miserable. And whether that, as I've said this a million times here too, whether that relief of the state, existing in the state of lack, comes from an actual 3D world fulfillment, of the desire, or it comes from realizing that what you're perceiving as lack is an illusion because you don't even want the thing you're feeling the lack of, either way, you're relieved. It's fulfilled. It's done. And you move on to something hopefully you actually do want. And you perform the same mental dissection on that hopefully as well. And over time, the desires that come up are more and more like that clear feeling, at least for me. Anytime I have a desire for something, I spend almost no time thinking about things I want anymore. I spend almost no time in that state. I am just doing stuff all the time, making content here, having ideas and working on stuff at work. Now spending time playing with my two feline familiars that I think are following me from life to life, although they came twice in this life maybe. Just spending time like doing that stuff. When I have a desire for something, it's like at this point, honestly, more so even than when I started this channel. I know I said this in the beginning of this channel, but infinitely more so now. If I feel a desire for something, I just know it's going to happen. I don't even have to make it happen. It's like it's a totally different sensation now. It's a totally different thing. It's like it's a warning that it's coming. It's like, hey, oh, I want this thing. I'm like, oh, all right, well, that's the direction my life's heading in. This desire, this feeling of desire was just sort of like a preview. It was like a warning. It was like, get your shit together because you're going in this direction now. That's what that all feels like at this point. It's pretty crazy. And then things just happen that just take me right there. So it's weird. I'm just like, I'm thinking about some of the stuff that's happened over the last year with money. It's weird. Like I'll just have a vague desire. I'll be like, yeah, I think I'm ready for like a lot more money than I have right now, which is a weird feeling to me. I'm already well off, and I don't particularly want anything materially, maybe like a bigger house, but I don't even really want that all that much. Like sometime this year, I thought I think I'm ready to have like significantly more, which is weird because once you get beyond a certain point with money, I think things start to get a little weird. I already can't really relate to anything. I don't know. I just don't think about money in the terms that 99.99% of the population think about money. I don't think about it in the same way at all. Like it just doesn't register in the same way. So the idea of having more just wasn't even appealing for a long time. And then suddenly I just thought, I think I'm ready to, have like a lot more. Why not? And a lot of things have happened over the last year in that, pointing in that direction, just without me really trying. And my periods of being like bound up in fear, like I need to get more money, which I've had a few of those in the last year, they didn't produce anything except burnout. So just more proof that there is just very little value in any kind of striving from scarcity, stuff like that. Anyway, I don't know if this reached anybody who needed to hear it, but I'll say again the main point of this video, which is whether, when you're existing in the state of lack, when you're existing in the awareness that you don't have something, that is an uncomfortable state. And the idea is to move out of that state. And whether you move out of it by manifesting the thing somehow, or realizing I don't even want that thing, so this state of lack has just disappeared before my eyes, because you can't want something you don't want, right? I mean, you can't feel the lack of something that you don't even care about. It's just, or, if you just drop your awareness of the lack and put your focus somewhere else, anywhere else, those things are all equally valid. And I think the easiest thing, the best thing, like the biggest freebie in all of this is when you realize you don't even want the thing you are feeling the lack of, and then it just disappears before your eyes. Have that happen to you once and you will never go back, I promise. If that happens to you one time, you will be, I think, if you're anything like me, You will be a bloodhound on every other thing that you ever feel the state of lack of. You'll just be like, is this bullshit? Like, can it just go poof like that other thing did? When all these things go poof, you are existing in the ever-present now, where there is peace and just infinite sort of high vibe feelings and experiences available. It's no joke trying to stay in that state, but that's what's just naturally there. You don't have to force it. It's just getting rid of all this garbage that is piled on top of it. It's in there. You can just get to it. I hope this helped anybody with anything. Have a great day.